Sandy Says Read. Welcome to the channel, or if you're already a subscriber, welcome back to the channel. And if you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Here's your invitation. You can hit the subscribe button below. Cha! This is the, what is this? This is the wrap up for the month of June. This is the wrap up of the TBR pile from June. Look at that! I did it. I got through the books. And you guys, let me see if I can get these over here. It's so heavy. I added a couple books after, we did a TBR video for the month of June, and I added a couple after June got started. And look, I have to show you guys this. Janine, thank you for sending me the Duran Duran book. Yay! This was a birthday present from my friend Janine. And it was really easy to read because it's mostly just pictures of these gorgeous boys from the early 80s. And they're so handsome and cute. But there was a page to read in the front of it. So I read this one. Oh, and I do highly recommend it because Duran Duran is great. Okay. But we're going to go through a real, wrap up of the books that I read in June. We'll get started with that in just a second. I first have to give some props to a booktuber out there, Irish Reader. Yes, you are so fun, and he has such a positive, fun, and uplifting channel. I highly recommend his channel for anyone who wants to look at some good videos, fun videos, funny videos at times. He just does such a good job. And I really enjoyed his reaction video to some books that he was reading, I think in the month of May. I don't even remember now. It's been a while. But I got permission from him to copy and steal his idea of doing a reaction video. I'm only going to do it for a couple of the books because I know I'm not going to do it as well as he did. So hopefully it'll be somewhat entertaining. The first book that I want to go over for you guys was The Anomaly by Michael Rutger. Yeah, he's a first-class jack-off. Ugh, I hope he dies in this book. Aw, why would they do that to him? Poor guy. Your spider sense. Nice. Right. Nice. I get it. Oh my gosh. Oh no, she's gonna die. She can't go up there. She's gonna die. See, I knew she was gonna die. I knew it. Oh, yeah, see, he had no choice. That's just the way it had to be. Yeah. Yep. What a great book. I have to tell everyone how great this book is. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. There's a lot of swearing in this book, which was kind of off-putting at first. Once I got into the rhythm of the book, though, you can kind of overlook the just constant cursing that takes place in this book. It's a thriller, and it's a little bit supernatural in nature, so it just really gets going after a while. The setup takes a little bit of time, but it's done well enough that you don't really mind that it's taking a while for the setup to take place. Michael Rutger does a really good job of introducing the characters, introducing what they're doing, introducing the documentary nature of the jobs that the characters have. And while that might sound kind of boring, it's actually wonderful and interesting. And the documentary show that these characters film is a web-based program, and these guys are out, trying to come up with new content. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, guys? But they're out trying to come up with some new content and some new show ideas and trying to keep a new sponsor happy. So they brought a sponsor and a journalist along with their film crew to the Grand Canyon, and I don't think I'm going to give away much more than that. I mean, the story really picks up at that point in all kinds of scary stuff and starts happening at that point. I mean, it's kind of scary, but in a good way. I mean, it's a suspenseful kind of scary. It's very well done. There are parts of the book where I was just laughing my head off. I mean, I was surprised that a suspenseful thriller, would have me just busting out laughing, but it did, and it's very well done. And there's so many layers to what's going on in this book that you have to really pay attention while you're reading it. It took me one night to read this. I mean, I got it, and as you can see, it's a book of the month book. This thing came, I opened the box, and I started reading it, and I stayed up until, I think, 1 a.m., and just finished it because it was that good. It was that interesting, and the legends and concepts behind what might have been happening just wove into it so nicely that it was intriguing, and I didn't want to lose track of what was going on. I wanted to stay in the story and track with it and finish it, and I did, and I'm glad I did. It's a really good book. I highly recommend it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Another just wonderful, very well written book is The Feather Thief by Kirk Wallace Johnson. I had picked this one up, I want to say a couple of months ago. I grabbed this one because I wanted to read it and do a review in the Parrot magazine that I publish. It is very well written. I was horrified by some of the content, but that's because it was so well written that I could visualize, I could see the birds that were used in the fly tying sport, in the fly tying art and craft that's described in this book, and also in the fashion industry that's described in this book. There are different segments to the book. There's one section where the author talks about the past, and he goes through the search for the different birds, and they're looking at their habitat, looking at their conservation, looking at the gathering of materials, to be put into museums, to be put into the scientific record. He looks at that aspect of it, and that's almost like a whole book unto itself, but it is done so well that you don't really realize that you're reading some historical documentary. You don't really realize that you're reading something that is just straight up an educational portion of the book. It's so well done and so well written, and the wording and the phrasing is so perfect that you just follow along with it. I mean, it's an easy read. It's easy to get into and easy to get swept along. I was really impressed. So impressed. And then there's a section of the book where we are seeing, the thief, the character who, pulls off this heist that is just horrifying to me, just made me angry. I mean, I came away from this book despising the character who committed the crime, the feather thief himself. This is a true crime novel. If I were ever to meet this individual out on the street, I'd want to kick him in the groin. The author has done such a good job of making me despise that person. And then there's another section of the book where the author is going over how on earth that individual could have done this on his own, and goes into the mechanics of how he investigated the crime as an author, as a journalist almost. Apart from the criminal investigators, apart from the police. And it's very interesting. I mean, he went on basically a fact-finding mission to write the book and was essentially a detective in doing so. And it's all very well done. All the way through. All the different segments of the book just fit together nicely. It's this wonderful, cohesive story. I enjoyed it very much. I would recommend it. I'm going to put together a nice review for the magazine, and then I'll put that review up on Goodreads as well. I highly recommend this. Oh, and the coolest part. Hang on. Let me undress the book for you. Look at how lovely this book is. Look at that. Look, the purple and the blue just go together so nicely. And of course, I love purple. And then the lettering is just iridescent. Isn't that lovely? I mean, so there's even just a beauty about the book itself. I really enjoyed this. So in the month of June, I read The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things by Carolyn Mackler. Now, this is one that a lot of other booktubers out there have read, so I'm not telling you guys anything new in talking about this one. So I won't go into, the plot. I won't go into, the characters and their development and whatnot. I did enjoy this one. I found myself a little bit startled at times by the things the main character was able to get away with. When I was a kid, oh my gosh, I wasn't allowed out of my house. So it was a little bit surprising to me that this young lady was able to, first of all, she had whole weekends where she was at home alone. Her parents went away every weekend, and she was left at home by herself when her brother was at college. So she was able to do whatever she wanted to do, and she would take the train to wherever in the city, and she never got mugged and never got attacked and never got abducted, which was surprising to me. I mean, she's in a big city where she could just be taken away by anyone. It was odd to me that this character had so much, independence in that way. It was just a little bit odd to me. I found that kept taking me out of the story, and I think that was odd. That, I don't know, I just found myself leaving the story an awful lot to say, wow, she's getting away with a lot, or wow, her parents let her do that, or wow, this kid is on the train again. It just kept taking me out of the story. Okay, for Civil Terror Gridlock by J. Luke Benecki, this one has the premise that a group of 6 civil engineers, engineering type individuals have put together a roadway system that is an intelligent system. And that kind of traffic system has been integrated with autonomous vehicles, has been integrated with traffic reports, has been integrated with just a whole system of transportation, whereby people can now sit in their cars while their cars drive them where they need to go. And it's put together so that you can be moving at 60 miles per hour when you're 2 feet away from the vehicle in front of you, and it's totally safe. There are no more accidents. Accidents have been eliminated. This is an interesting premise. Cool. Of course, a terrorist hacks into the system. Because why not? That's the thriller part of this novel. A terrorist has hacked into the system and is, killing off people. The body count is around 5,000 at the point where I stopped reading. I can't really recommend this one because while the premise is nifty and it makes a good thriller concept, I had a lot of difficulty with some of the phrases and some of the language, and the main character, I wasn't really getting into him. It was not a book that I would enjoy much. I tried it a couple of times, and on my 3rd try I got up to page 84, and on page 84 I ran into some racial slurs that just did me in. Like, no, I'm gonna stop trying now. I know that thrillers use that kind of language, and thrillers use that kind of, cliche terrorist who uses that kind of horrible language. I get that thrillers do that. So if you out there in booktube land, if you guys can look past that kind of stuff, then this may be an awesome thriller for you. You may, just dive right into the premise and work right through some of the things I had trouble with and just cruise into it. But I couldn't. It wasn't really something I just couldn't. So let's move on to the next book. Okay, the children's book that I picked up for the month of June is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster, and I enjoyed this. It was, very silly. It had very silly moments, but it follows the story of a young boy who is just bored with everything, and he gets swept away into a fantasy land when he goes through a toll booth that just arrives at his home. And it's just well told. There are all sorts of colloquialisms and phrasings in this book that are expressed for, the young audience, and just to teach them, how to use different phrases, how to use different things like rhyme and reason. Well, in this book, rhyme and reason are two people who have been banished from a kingdom. So the kid has to go and find them and bring them back. It's just a clever way to introduce different colloquialisms and different phrasings and different patterns of speech to kids. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Next, I read Switching Hour by Robin Peterman. I read this one because I'm going to meet Robin at Imaginarium in October. And you'll see that there's a bookmark in here. I did finish the story. The story is only half of the book. There's a lot of excerpts from other books to kind of whet your appetite for other books and series that she has here in the back half of this book. Switching Hour is a story about a witch named Zelda, who we meet in the beginning when she is in witch jail with another witch. They've done bad things, and so they've been put in jail, and their term is almost up. So they're being released from jail shortly after we meet them, and they each are given a task that they must perform, or else they will have their power completely stripped from them. So she's got to go do this task. So it's kind of like there's a quest that she must take care of. I was not overly thrilled with the character. I just couldn't get to like Zelda. She was so totally different from me as a person. She had interests in things that I do not. She had language that I do not. She just was not a character that I could relate to. So that was disappointing for me. So I'm going to have to look at some other books that Robin has, see what other series she's got out there so I can dive into some of those. This one was book 1 in the Magic and Mayhem series, and I'm not going to follow Zelda's story any further because I just don't care to. But there are other stories that Robin has, and I may enjoy those more. So I'll look into those. But that's what Switching Hour was about. Okay, the book Who Told You That You Were Naked by Kelvin Cochran. I would recommend this one for gentlemen. It's not necessarily written for women, although I think ladies could get something out of it, as I think I did. He's speaking to men specifically with this book, speaking to men, helping them with their walk in Christ, helping them understand their relationships with their families as well, understanding that relationship in that, I don't know how exactly I want to explain this, and just read the book. But, understanding their relationships in that, yes, men and women too, men can still be tempted, even after they are, forgiven of their sins, even after they have salvation, they can still be tempted by the evils that are out there in the world. But that doesn't mean that they are condemned. They can be convicted in their hearts of, hey, this thing here is wrong. That doesn't mean they're condemned. They're not condemned any longer once they have been saved. And there's that message of hope is in this book, and that message of striving to be a better individual is in this book, and that's a positive, hopeful message, and I like that positivity, and I like that hopefulness. The final book that I want to talk about from the month of June is For Everyone by Jason Reynolds. This one is actually a poem, and it says here, it's a poem, a nod, a nothing to lose. And I like that. Over at Jesse the Reader's channel, he had a video up, I want to say it was in the middle of May, maybe? He had a video up where he talked about this poem, and he recommended it. And I'm so glad he did, because I picked it up and I enjoyed it. It's one of those that you want to take in slowly, absorb it, bring it in, and by the end of it, you just feel a little bit more uplifted. Whatever project you've been procrastinating, you just kind of feel like, okay, it's time. It's time to get started on that. And that's that's a really good thing. So I'm thankful that Jesse recommended this. I enjoyed it. Now guys, I think that's all that I had for the month of June. Yeah, I think that's all I had. Look, if there are any books that I didn't fully enjoy, I hope that I didn't come across too harsh. You guys are welcome to tell me what you did enjoy about any of these books in the comments below. Let's have a discussion about it. That's what this channel is for, to talk about books and to share the bits and pieces we enjoy, the bits and pieces that make us happy, okay? And I don't know, if you have any other recommendations based on some of these books that you saw that I liked, if you've got some more recommendations for me, leave those in the comments below, because I'm looking for more books to read, expand my horizons some more. And come on back for the next one. I will be posting on Sundays and Thursdays. Thanks so much.